My search for the truth had finally yielded some success. Where do I even start? I've mentioned that my grandfather knew some people here and there, and he even introduced me to some of them. And I convinced myself to contact one such person who works at NASA. Unfortunately, he couldn't help me, but he gave me a contact for someone who possibly could. The other person didn't help me either, but they bounced me back and forth between about 10 other people until I finally met this guy who actually knew what I was talking about. Well, I mean, I didn't meet him, only on the internet, but you get it, obviously. I won't reveal his identity or any more information than what I'm going to write here. He wasn't very friendly when I first got in touch with him, now that I think about it. When I asked him if he knew anything about Dawnbreaker, he almost hung up on me straight away. Who told you about this? You're playing with things you don't understand, young man. Jacob Miller was my grandfather, I explained. He went silent for a few seconds, and then spoke. I see. I suppose we wouldn't be able to hide this forever. I can help you. Not because you asked me, but because it's time. But I warn you, there are things you don't want to know. He mailed me a flash drive, and in it a very complicated way to know what to do. The drive was actually a dummy, and after I took it apart, it revealed a micro SD card. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing by posting this to the internet, but what you're about to read is going to give you many answers, but open up even more questions. The SD card contained a transcript of what was probably an audio recording in Russian, same as with my grandfather's message. I'll rewrite the contents below. Material number 1-EM663. Source, record EM13 at First Dawn 1. Transcript translated from Russian by Redacted. Damn this piece of crap. Is it working? Oh god, thank it is. Apologize my rude introduction. My name is Leonid Ivanich Tarkov. I was a cosmonaut on the Kachma station. Let's cut the crap and get this straight to the point. You know that we're here, and you know that we've been spying on us with your little spy neck for a while. And while I hate to giving this to you, I hope you use this information well, because I have no other hope. And in case you've been living under a rock, I'll explain what's going on. We've been here for 2 months now. Me, Lenko, and Novak, and Commander Pelakov. God bless their souls. Our station is tiny, but it serves us well. A small dome with 4 rooms, a laboratory, storage room, machine room, and a central living area. Our purpose was to research the moon and its structure. Long before you Americans found out, we already knew the crater anomaly. On every other celestial body, the size and depth of a crater vary depending on the strength of the impact, but their shape would stay consistent. But on the moon, it's not like this. Craters here are too shallow. They never extend below a certain depth. We placed this station in one particularly large and deep crater with hopes to learn about more of this curious phenomenon. All was going well until we started digging. It was the 64th day of the expedition. We all gathered there to watch the result of our hard work. The drill was a true engineering marvel, designed specifically for this mission. The plan was to drill a deep, deep hole, as deep as it would go. Ready to start rolling, comrades? Excitingly asked Lenko, our engineer. We all cheered, and after he hit the switch, the drill came to life. The silence transitioned to buzzing, the buzzing transitioned to spinning, and the spinning transitioned to drilling. I'm very proud of being here, doing a service to the Union, but I looked forward to returning to Earth. This was the first step to our journey home. After we made sure that all was going well, we started packing and heading home. Naturally, Lenko was last, since he behaved like if the drill was his little child he must watch over. What do you guys think is down there? He asked, as he rushed to catch up with us. Our equipment couldn't pick up anything below 5 meters under the surface, so there must be some layer of a very dense material, or maybe an unknown element. Who knows? Elaborated Novak, our geologist. Ha! I think we're gonna find cheese, I said, and we all laughed, even Commander Polakov. I was wrong. We were all so damn wrong. The drill jammed the next day. Lenko and Novak went there to elaborate, while I stayed at the base with the commander. He didn't talk very much, but when he did, it was mostly to criticize someone. He was the kind of person who wasn't satisfied with you, no matter what you did, but deep down, he cared for us, and we respected him for that. Lenko and Novak later returned with a handful of sharp black rocks and rather surprising news. As we predicted, about 4 meters below the surface, there's a layer of this immensely hard black material. It's so hard, in fact, that it broke the drill head, explained Novak. So, do you have any idea what it is? Asked Commander. Not yet. It must be some unstable crystalline mineral formed under high pressure. But we won't know what it is until I have a look at it. The next few days were very interesting, as me and Lenko spent all the time replacing the drill heads and trying to fix the old one. Novak was completely consumed by studying that strange material. The fact that he didn't make much progress only fueled his amazement. I was just doing some maintenance on the drill with Lenko when the drill suddenly plummeted down the hole, almost taking us with it. Did you see that? Asked Lenko in confusion. Of course I did, you idiot! It almost pulled me into that hole, in case you didn't notice, I responded. I then realized he probably didn't mean the drill, and I thought he was going to say something, but he didn't. I looked into the hole, and I pulled a glow stick out of the pocket of my suit, cracked it, and dropped it into the hole. It fell into some sort of cavity. The rest of the team arrived shortly after, and the commander started cursing at the drill, then at us, and then he finally congratulated us for making this first major discovery on the rock. I knew what was going to happen next. Prep your gear and get some sleep. We're going down there tomorrow, said Polyakov. When we returned to Kamchatka, Lenko insisted that he needs to service the exterior equipment. I thought that it was a bit odd, but he serviced the exterior 2 days prior. But our equipment breaks all the time, so I didn't consider it as a big deal. I wanted to stay with him so he wouldn't be left alone outside, but he refused with any possibility of convincing him, so I gave up on that. He returned inside some 30 minutes after we did. However, a couple minutes after he came back, we heard a bang from the airlock, then another. We rushed out there and Novak took a look out the window. His eyes widened as he scanned the outside with a blank expression on his face. What is it? I asked. I don't know, he replied. Lenko, don't you know what's going on? You returned last, inquired Commander. No, I swear I have no idea what that was, he answered. Novak continued watching outside for a few seconds and then went back to continue his work. So we did as well. The next day we descended down the hole, and the commander went down first, and then I followed. I rappelled some 4 meters when I reached the layer of the black material. As if it wasn't hard enough to already fit through the narrow opening with the suit on, I had to be careful not to cut the suit on the sharp, jagged edges of the dark substance. I then got into a hollow section and descended some further 10 meters down until I hit solid ground. It was pitch black, but with my headlight on, I saw that we were in some sort of cavern or dome. The walls were out of sight, but the floor was the same material like the ceiling. The drill was down there. It had collapsed down the hole when the ceiling gave way. We waited for the rest of the team and then headed into the darkness. After a few minutes, we sighted the wall. It was made out of the same material as I expected. Do you have any idea what this is, Novak? Asked Commander. I can't figure it out. It's really tight-packed crystal, but I couldn't find out what it was made of. It's completely inert, doesn't melt, and doesn't conduct heat very well, he explained in return. We followed the wall and circled the whole cavity until we came back to where we started. The walls, the ceiling, and the floor were just this completely smooth black material. We headed back to the opening. However, on our way back, we came across another opening in the ground. There was a ramp that went down like a spiral, and after hesitating for a while, we walked down. We descended into another smaller cavity, where tunnels extended in 4 directions like crossroads. Nobody asked the obvious question. This wasn't natural. There were 4 of us and 4 tunnels. One might think we'd split up together to cover more ground, but again, we were soldiers, not a bunch of stupid school kids, so we stuck together. We walked for maybe 40 minutes, and we passed several other intersections. The whole place seemed like a maze or a web of tunnels, and it would be really easy to get lost here. So each time we passed an intersection, we left a glow stick in the mouth of the tunnel we came from. The whole place was eerie, and the further we went, the more uneasy I felt. Somewhere deep in my mind, I felt that we are not supposed to be here. When we just came to maybe a 10th or the 11th intersection, we continued straight, but after a couple of steps, I noticed that Linko wasn't by my side anymore. I turned back to see him looking into one of the side tunnels at the intersection. Guys, stop! I spoke into my radio. Linko, what is it? He turned to face us and said, I don't know. Guys, I don't feel well. We need to go back. Something's not right down here. What followed happened so fast, but I felt like I was watching a slow-motion video. At one moment, he stood there, looking at us, but in the next moment, he was gone. Something pulled him into the tunnel. We ran back, and I wanted to follow, but Commander pulled me back. What are you doing? We can't leave him behind, I shouted. He's gone. We need to get out. Otherwise, we're all dead, he said. He was right. This wasn't our world. Whatever took Linko was still down here with us, and we needed to get out. We ran back from where we came from. Running in such low gravity was really awkward, but at least it was easier, so we didn't need to stop and catch our breath even with our heavy suits on. However, when we reached the next intersection, we stopped nonetheless. The glow stick wasn't there. And we soon learned all of them were gone. At first we remembered the way, but at some point we probably took the wrong route because we never reached the spiral ramp. We eventually reached something that looked like a dead end. We wanted to head back, but all we heard was a thumping in the distance. There were obviously no air or anything that could make a sound here. So we didn't understand. Novak was the first one who panicked. Fuck. What now? What are we gonna do, Commander? Please, we have to do something. I want to go home, he shouted across the radio. The pounding got louder and louder, or perhaps closer. I was on the verge of panic as well, when I noticed that the wall in front of us wasn't a single piece. There was a groove running from the top to bottom at the center. Help me with this, I said. With the combination of various tools, we managed to pry it open to reveal that the wall was in fact a door. The sound was now so close that if I thought we looked back, I would have seen the source, but I didn't want to. We squeezed through the door and let it close behind us. Fuck. That was close. Are you alright? Asked Commander. How are we gonna go back now? Asked Novak in response. We'll find a way, said the Commander. How? We have no idea where we are, and there's... The Commander cut him off. We'll find a way. We walked through another tunnel for some time until we reached a room, circular in shape, maybe 15 or 20 meters in diameter. It was filled with concentric rows of black boxes, or tables perhaps. In the center there was a black three-sided pyramid. Again, 4 tunnels continued into the unknown at each side, like at the intersections. What was this place? We decided not to waste time and went into one of the tunnels. We probably walked for hours, but our oxygen was almost gone, and not long after we left the circular room, I started to feel it. My mind became cloudy and my legs felt like jelly. I remember that we eventually reached a room, circular in shape with concentric rows of black tables and 3-sided pyramids in the center. I didn't have any energy left to realize that we had somehow returned to the same room we came from. I collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily, struggling for any oxygen left in my air. In the final desperate measure, I detached my helmet. I took a deep breath and cold air filled my lungs before I collapsed. I saw something while I was unconscious. I can't remember it clearly, but it's like when you wake up and you remember a dream, but you forgot it a couple minutes later. I remember that I saw some kind of being. I can't remember how it looked or what it looked like, but I knew that it was sleeping. And then it woke up. Tarkov, a voice said at the edge of my conscious. Wake up. I woke up to see Novak. Wake up, Tarkov, he repeated and shook me. I saw that he had also removed his helmet. Somehow there was air and we could breathe it. But after all that's happened, it was one of the less surprising facts. What happened? I asked. Oh, thank God you're alright. I don't know, but something is not right with Polyakov, he answered. I stood up and I saw him standing in front of the pyramid. Commander! I shouted, but he didn't respond. We started walking towards him. I passed out when we got here. When I woke up, he was already standing there. He wouldn't respond and didn't move an inch. Then I found you and woke you up, explained Novak. Polyakov moved his arm and touched the pyramid. I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but anyway, his helmet was still on. There's no way he had any oxygen left. Suddenly, the surface of the pyramid went black. I mean, it was black even before, but now it was so black that I couldn't even see the surface anymore. Only the outline. It was like if somebody simply tore away a part of space itself. Some sort of black hand appeared in front of the pyramid. I can't comprehend where it came from, but it seemed to extend out of the pyramid itself. It grabbed Polyakov's arm, and in the blink of an eye, it pulled him into the darkness. We turned and ran into the tunnel to our right. A few dozens of meters into the tunnel, I stumbled and fell face down onto the ground, breaking my lamp in the progress. The last light in the tunnel disappeared with Novak as he sprinted away, and I was plunged into the darkness. I then heard heavy footsteps behind me. I wanted to stand up and run, but I couldn't. I couldn't take it anymore. I just lay there and waited as my end got closer and closer. The thing got right next to me, and I felt a hand touch my leg. It touched my suit several other times and advanced towards my head. Then, to my horror, it touched my face. It was cold. I imagined the same hand that had just pulled Polyakov into the pyramid. I imagined it dragging me backwards and pulling me inside the pyramid to do terrible things to me. This was it. This was my end. But that didn't happen. Who is this? A shaky voice asked. I was startled, and I didn't know what to do. It was Lenko's voice. It's Tarkov, I said after a while. Thank God I found you. I thought I would die here alone, he said. I stood up and we walked through the tunnel together in pitch darkness. We roamed the tunnels for hours, maybe days, weeks. At first it wasn't so bad because I wasn't alone. We filled the time by speaking about various things, talked about our families, our jobs, and how we became astronauts. At one point I asked him what happened after he was pulled away from us. He didn't answer, and he went silent ever since. It wasn't long until the silence forced me to start questioning each step I took. How did Lenko survive? What happened to Polyakov? But there was one thought that was much stronger than anyone else. Was it really Lenko next to me? Was it him, or that monster with the black hand? I wouldn't know, because I wouldn't see. Why did he have a light? How did he find me? My gratefulness of not being alone shifted to terror. Each second, my desperation to see any light was stronger. I couldn't bear it anymore. I suddenly tripped and fell. Are you alright, Tarkov? Asked Lenko. I tripped on something, I explained. I turned and with my hands proceeded to feel the object that caused my fall. It was highly irregular, but sometimes symmetric. At some places it was soft and flexible, while others it was cold and smooth. But then I realized what it was. A spacesuit. I eventually found the lamp, and after some struggling I detached it from the suit. At first, to my surprise, I was afraid to turn it on. I was afraid to see what was in the darkness all around us. I was afraid to see who was in the spacesuit, but I did it anyways. The brightness blinded my eyes, and after they adapted the light, I saw Novak's face in the suit and Lenko standing over us. Our eyes met, and for a brief moment, I felt that his eyes were somehow unnatural. Something wasn't right about them. I was just on the verge of realizing what it was when the body beside me twitched and took a long, deep breath. Novak, are you okay? How did you get here? I asked. He was very disoriented. I don't remember. Is that? He said and looked at Lenko. He then looked up at me and we both stood up. I thought you guys were dead, he said. So did we, I answered back. I was delighted to finally see a human face, but it wasn't over. We still had to find a way out. I ran as far away as I could until I realized that you weren't following me. I wanted to head back for you, but I thought that you were gone as well. I can't remember what happened next. My head hurts from just trying to think about it, explained Novak. After managing to get a closer look at him, I realized that he was looking terrible, sick perhaps. His eyes were red and he was completely pale. Something was wrong with him as well. After a few hours, we decided to stop to take a break. I finally drifted to sleep. This time I didn't have any dreams, just pitch darkness. And it was that more terrifying because it reminded me of the time that I spent in the dark. I was woken up by something. It was Novak. Gestured me to stay silent, and I saw Lenko sleeping a few meters away. Tarkov, listen, he whispered. We need to go now. We need to get away from him. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? I whispered back. Tarkov, do you remember the banging at the back of the station? He asked. When I looked out of the window, I saw something. But at that point, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, so I stayed silent, he explained. In the far distance, I saw a figure, standing with its back turned to us. It was walking away, but it stopped when I focused my eyes on it. It turned and looked at me, and it was him, Lenko, finished Novak in his revelation. I took a minute to process this, and then nodded and silently stood up. We proceeded to carefully walk out. Something was wrong with this place. Something I couldn't explain. People disappeared and then reappeared. What if Novak was saying was true? The person behind us was Lenko. But if not, what was it? Was Novak telling the truth, or was it really Novak? I couldn't trust anyone. Didn't even trust myself. It all felt so unreal, but so real at the same time. I had so many questions I didn't want the answers to. I felt like I would break at this point. I felt as if the walls of the tunnel were collapsing on me, getting tighter and tighter each second. I wanted so desperately to get out. I wanted to go home. But I was so far away from home. Then I heard a voice from behind me. Are you my friend, Tarkov? Asked Lenko. I turned to see him standing right behind Novak, who was just behind me. I didn't know what to do. Of course, I'm your friend, I responded. Good, he said. I looked in his eyes and realized what was wrong with them. They were pitch black. What are you? I shouted. We are everything, he said with an unsettling, unnatural voice. He then opened his mouth in an impossible way and clamped around Novak's neck, engulfing his head in its throat. Novak screamed in agony, but his screams were muffled by the thing's flesh. I turned to run when I heard ear-piercing roars and screeches behind me. I was too afraid to look back, but I felt that it was getting closer. I ran through the tunnel for a while, until I reached an intersection. In the center, there was the spiral ramp. My heart dropped. This could be where we came from. It had to be. I ascended the ramp, but the higher I got, the harder it was for me to breathe. I put my helmet back on and reached a big room. In the ceiling, there was a small ray of sunlight coming from a hole. I climbed out. I was finally out, but I didn't have time to celebrate. I was out of oxygen. What was left was the only air that became trapped in my suit as I reattached my helmet. My reserves were completely out. I went to walk to the base. When I froze, I dropped to my knees. The base was gone, like if it never was there. Both of the landers were there, but the base itself was gone. I crawled to one of the landers. I almost suffocated on the way, but I made it. To whoever receives this, I'm presumably the last survivor of the Kamcha expedition. I'm sending out this transmission in case I don't make it. I think that whatever is down there was asleep for a long time, but it woke up. The engine is warming up now, but I'm afraid I'm out of time. I can see him outside. He's getting closer. God help me. To think about it, I can't sleep knowing that our moon is something unnatural. Something hiding so many terrifying truths. But just remember, fellow reader, whenever you take a look outside at the night sky, remember that sometimes the most mysterious and terrifying things are hidden in plain sight.